Okay.
Are we going?
Yes.
Good. It's started.
Yes.
So I want to talk tonight about paganism. Язычество in Russian, but the actual Russian the translation from the Russian into English is really people or nation. That's the origin. The reason that in English we say pagan is because for the Jews, non-Jews were язычество. They're ordinary people. The word pagan is a Latin word, and it only came into usage by Christians. So that word didn't exist before. And from the Latin it means somebody who's a simple peasant. We call it a rustic. It's somebody who lives in the countryside. And in the early church, right up until 2014 I reckon, people who become Christian are still pagans because they have superstitions. In England there's a sort of cult of little gods and things. You won't see it in the papers, but it exists. And Ireland especially is full of that. They call them little people, leprechauns. So that's all a part of their heathen background. Heathen is a word really, but pagan is the Latin term which we tend to use. So what's that got to do with us? Well, in the beginning there was true faith. There was Adam and Eve and Seth in particular. Believed in God even though Adam transgressed, but the point is that there was a true faith. Whereas paganism is not, it's a false world view, it's false. And it's spiritually unhealthy, and in Russian the term for this is prelest. So outside of the experience of Christianity you have prelest. You don't have some alternative. And not all religions are the same, although people will claim that, because they're basing that on a false premise that they believe that everything's all the same. There's only one God and everybody worships him. And it's not true, but anyway. So in paganism, one of the forms is naturalism. This is where people worship nature. Now they may not do it by burning incense to the sun, or worshipping trees, or some people do hug trees these days, but it's not that. It's something in which it's basically, I've got a definition of it. Naturalism, life's goal is maximum satisfaction of all natural needs, and that means food, health, shelter, job. This is naturalism, and this becomes a form of worship, although it is not worship in the sense of ritual. Okay, we don't go, worshipping these things. And the other one is very broad moral freedom, which is a part of it. So you can do what you like. You can live with anybody you like. You don't have to get married and do whatever you do. And this is naturalism, and it's a part. If you probably would agree, it's part of today's society. I don't think anybody would argue with that. So the people that believe these things and practice are pagans. Sometimes they're even Christian, but there's always a mixture, and this is very important to understand as Orthodox Christians. Part of the pagan worship which affects us today is idol worship. What's an idol?
It's a statue that people pray to.
Yeah, okay, but some people still do that. If you go to a local Indian store, you'll see statues with lights in front of them, the Hindu gods. But
they give rituals to the idols.
yeah, that's right. Yes, yeah, offer fruit and flowers. So idol worship does exist. Now you might say it doesn't exist in our society. I mean, whatever that is these days, all mixed. But the other type of idol worship is money. Becomes an idol. There's nothing wrong with money. You have to have it. It's how you use it and whether it becomes your goal in life. So you look at all the books on how to make money, finance, investments. I'm not saying investment is wrong, by the way, but is it an idol? Is it your idol? Is your idol to have the best in everything? The best house, the best car? And another form of idolatry is power. Wanting to have power, whether it's political or whether it's managerial, psychological power. There's all sorts of forms of power which can become idolatrous. So we're still pagans. We're still in the pagan society. There's nothing to do with something 1,000 years ago with people dancing around an idol or something like that. It's still it's more sophisticated, and there's a great desire for personal freedom. This seems to be the big thing. I must have my personal freedom because it's based on I. And that, again, is a form of idolatry because you can worship yourself. You can worship yourself through cosmetics. I mean, again, a lot of these things are harmless in themselves, but when they become the aim of your life, to look the most beautiful person on the planet, or to hide because you're the most ugliest person on the planet, whatever it is, then that becomes idolatry. That's what I mean by idolatry. Another form of paganism is mysticism. What do you think that is? If somebody says, what's mysticism? Could you describe it?
Maybe something sacred?
Yes. Yeah. Anyone want to add to that?
Maybe believing in like ghosts or something?
Ghosts.
Not really, no. Kirill. What's mysticism? You're right in the sacred. That's it. Good.
Just believing in a spiritual life.
Yes,
Confirming
yeah.
it.
Is that wrong to believe in a spiritual life? Is it, Ben?
No.
No, of course not. But it's how and what you believe in. Okay, that's the difference. And with mysticism, I want to actually read a quote here, which is maybe not very easy to understand. In fact, if you already understand it, please put your hand up and tell us what it means. Okay. Okay. Here's a quote. Self is denied. This is mysticism. When you get into real mysticism, yourself is denied. Human personality dissolves into the one and infinite element of divinity.
Element of what?
Self is denied. Human personality dissolves into the one and infinite element of divinity.
That's pretty much Hinduism.
You would say Hinduism,
Yeah.
Buddhism? Would you
No.
say-
Buddhism or Hinduism?
No,
Why,
no.
why not?
I think you find it everywhere. Sufi, all of them have this idea, I think.
Yes, however, there's kind of an implication of something that it's being dissolved into. And a classic Buddhist wouldn't use any language for that. It's a little more Hinduistic. It's implying that there's something there.
I think
But it's a distinction, but not necessary for the conversation.
All right.
Okay.
So, do you not want to know who wrote it? Of course you do, yes.
I think, was it, what's his name? Gandhi?
No.
Ah, good, that's a good point. Yeah, Gandhi, yes, he could have said it. Yes, yeah, the Hindu. It was said by Hans Kuhn, the famous Catholic theologian. Okay, that's what we're up against. I thought it was interesting when I found that, yes.
It doesn't surprise me.
No, it doesn't mean anything. But for orthodoxy, God is not some essence in which you get dissolved in some cosmic soup which you end up in through meditation. But it's a person, and took on human form, so to be a real person, not a ghost or a look-alike or something. And so that is very important. How many people really believe that?
You mean here?
No, I don't mean here.
Batushka.
And what happens? You said seek things that are sacred, did you say?
No, that's him.
Oh, sanctity, sacred. Well, what happens if you mix mysticism with sanctity? You end up with a thing called theosophy. Are you familiar with theosophy?
Philosophy.
It's a belief that started in the 20th century.
19.
19,
Blavatsky.
Blavatsky.
St. Petersburg.
Yeah, started this.
Blavatsky. Oh, yeah.
And basically, it's a collection of all things. It's a collection of all spiritual and beliefs put together.